So after a elaborative talk about secondary diabetes, what we have discussed actually in the previous topic, it is secondary diabetes. So now we are going to another part is andropause and diabetes. So if you see this andropause, the andros is the Greek which means human male, and pause is, as we know, that is cessation. So that is in 1946 Werner first time come with JAMA, that is the male climacteric. That means it is characterized by nervousness, reduced potency, decreased libido, irritability, fatigue, depression, memory problems, sleep disturbances, and hot flushes. So this is a syndrome in which the changes is accompanying with aging, and this is usually associated with androgen deficiency. So that is the what we are going to discuss these things. So does it really exist? Because we know there is menopause. Like, does it really exist andropause? Still it is debatable thing. That is, again, there is very little direct evidence is there. Again, it is very difficult to distinguish this syndrome. But one thing is sure, it's a gradual onset, and there is a gradual reduction in the testosterone level in the male, and especially if you compare with like female menopause, probably we cannot actually distinguish andropause in male in comparison to menopause in female. So coming to the, again, epidemiology, its prevalence is not known. Again, but one thing is sure, testosterone with age is reduces. It is almost after age 50 years, there is 1% reduction in the testosterone level happen. By 60 years, almost 20% male have some sort of abnormal or low level of testosterone. And if you go for bioavailable testosterone, almost 50% male will have actually reduced testosterone level. And data was showing that testosterone level is almost, by 75 years, it is almost 65% of, in comparison to the level is almost 65% of the male, and almost 25% male has below normal bioavailable testosterone. Again, 25% has testosterone level in the top quarter of the young male. So that shows that there is a age-related decline in the testosterone does happen in each and every male patients. And this is the daily pattern of male testosterone production, which is attenuated with age. If you see the upper level, the yellow line is the young person which is having actually secretion of the testosterone, but the lower one, if you see the blue one or the black one, is actually in the older male how the testosterone is secreted over the day. So that again shows that once with age, advancing age, there is definitely a reduction in the testosterone level is there, and that is true for each and every patients. Again, if you want to see the age-related change in the serum testosterone and SHBG level, the yellow one is the particularly the free testosterone level. You see there is a steep decline in the free testosterone level with age. From age 25 to you see the up to 85, 100, there is a steep decline. The middle one is the total testosterone. You can see that it is almost in the flat level. Why it is flat? Because gradually the SHBG is increasing, and that increase in SHBG makes the total testosterone in the normal range, but the bioavailable or free testosterone will be gradually low with age. That is the normal human physiology in the human being. Again, this is the study which has clearly shown if we take the testosterone level at the age of 25 to 34, it is the total testosterone is 21.4. Again, if you see the lower part of the part, which is 85 to 100, this is coming from 21 to it is coming to 13. So again, this is the thing. Again, if you see the SHBG level, from 35 it has increased to 65. So with age, SHBG is increasing, and the total testosterone is decreasing or almost in the remaining end. But the important part is, if you see the free testosterone is definitely significantly reduced from 0.43 to it is reducing to 0.93. So that is the age-related change does happen with each and every male patient. So with this thing, actually this is one of the study, HIM study, which has actually tried to see among the with hypogonadal male, what are the comorbidities associated? Of course, hypertension, hyperlipidemia, diabetes, obesity, and asthma. These are the certain common diseases which is found to be significantly associated with particularly this hypogonadal male persons. So with this much background, we will discuss our topic, what is the prevalence among the diabetic patients, what is the pathophysiology, what are the signs and symptoms, what are the clinical evidence which is, what ADS guidelines is telling, and what is the benefits of testosterone therapy in those of patients. So coming to the prevalence, These are the certain studies which in the specifically in diabetes with andropause, these are the some of the studies. The upper 3 studies are with particular outside studies, whereas the upper 4 studies, where the lower 3 studies are from the India, which has clearly shown, if you will see the upper 3 studies, which actually the prevalence is varying from 21% to 57%, whereas the Indian studies is varying from 15 to 20%. Why that much difference? Because the upper 3 studies, these are the bit older studies where they have taken only total testosterone. They have not actually gone the recent guideline of what is the androgen deficiency, because in the lower 3 studies they have taken free testosterone index and free testosterone along with the symptoms which the upper 3 studies has not taken. This is the reason why actually they have higher incidence of hypogonadism in type 2 diabetes or type 2 diabetes with andropause in comparison to the lower studies. Again, this is a study where actually they try to see the prevalence of hypogonadism in male with type 2 diabetes. Again, they have actually taken at the different, the yellow one is the testosterone level less than 8 nanomole per liter, that means up to 250, less than 250, whereas less than 12 is in the clinically what from the nanogram per ml it is 350, 250 and 350. Again, you see with age, you see everywhere actually a diabetic person has a early androgen deficiency, or a lot of people in diabetes has a androgen deficiency in the early age in comparison to the elderly population. Again, if we take the bioavailable testosterone, again the bioavailable testosterone less than 2.54 and less than free testosterone less than 2.5, again it is found to be significantly high in those diabetic patients in comparison to the normal population. Coming to the pathophysiology, why it is happening in the diabetes, then it has actually there is some role of insulin resistance. Inflammatory cytokines plays a critical role. Of course, estrogen plays a critical role, along with leptin, and OSA also plays a critical role. So if you see the insulin resistance, there is selective deletion of the insulin receptors from the neurons in mice lead to reduction in the LH level up to 60 to 90% along with low testosterone level. These are some animal studies. And if you are incubating some hypothalamic neurons in insulin, that result in the much more secretion of the GnRH. So that shows, again, insulin probably plays a critical role in particularly stimulating the GnRH neurons. And there are prospective core studies among male shows there is development of diabetes which is associated with age-related decline in the testosterone. That means when testosterone is coming down, probably these people are developing diabetes. Again, in diabetic, main lifestyle factors, pharmacological management that improves insulin sensitivity, again shows there is increase in the insulin level in testosterone level in those group of patients, and that again shows there is some sort of relationship of particularly specifically with reduction in the insulin resistance along with increase in the insulin level. Why it is happening? Let us see. This is the normal physiology. If you will see, this the leptin plays a critical role in the development of the KISS neuron, and this KISS produces increase in the KISS peptin, and this KISS peptin is the hormone which is specifically for increase in the GnRH neurons and which actually stimulates subsequently increase in the testosterone level. What is happening in the diabetes? There occurs in the excess leptin and leptin resistance. So at one side there is leptin resistance and other side there is increase in the circulating estrogen, both, and along with insulin resistance itself, all those actually inhibits this KISS neurons to produce KISS peptin. So here the KISS peptin is reduced, and this reduction in the KISS peptin is actually ultimately helps in particularly down regulation of the GnRH neurons, and ultimately that leads to actually decrease in the testosterone production in the diabetic patients. And this is not the only pathophysiology. If you see again obesity, diabetes and hypogonadism, and if you take together probably metabolic syndrome, we can tell in a single line, probably again those who are having metabolic syndrome, these are the group where actually you will get a maximum number of people having particularly hypogonadism, or there is actually early andropause in those group of patients. Why this is happening? Again, you see this estradiol, along with that actually TNF alpha and interleukin 6 plays a critical role along with leptin. All those things inhibits particularly hypothalamic pituitary axis. The LH pulse amplitude is reduced, and that actually causes in the reduction in the testosterone level. Again, aromatase plays a critical role, because you know from the estrogen point of view, aromatase plays a critical role. Again, aromatase itself inhibits the testosterone level. That leads to increase in the adipose tissue, and simultaneously that reduction in the testosterone level is actually responsible for actually hypogonadism or early andropause or andropause in particularly the male patients. So ultimately it's a two-way therapy. Those who are having diabetes, they develop early andropause, and those who are having testosterone deficiency, they are also prone to develop early diabetes in the course of the disease. So with aging there is decreased testosterone, again along with decreased testosterone, muscle mass, and along with increased abdominal obesity, this increase the particular triglyceride level and insulin resistance, they make the person prone for diabetes. So in the both it is a double-edged sword. Not like that only diabetes people have actually increased early andropause. Those who are having testosterone deficiency, these people are also prone to develop diabetes early in due course of the time. Again, this is the same thing what I have discussed, that oxidative stress and also carbonyl stress along with insulin resistance, obesity and diabetes all plays a critical role in the development of the hypogonadism or early andropause in the diabetic patients. Then coming to the signs and symptoms, how you are going to see specifically the classical and signs and symptoms is there is reduced in the testicular volume. Of course, there will be no significant, because once testicle is developed, probably there will be a minimal reduction will be there, so you might not get a significant reduction. Along with there is male factor infertility, decreased body hair, gynecomastia, loss of vigor, there is decrease in muscle mass and strength, obesity, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance along with type 2 diabetes, and also osteoporosis. And from the sexual signs and symptoms, there is reduced sexual desire, erectile dysfunction along with fewer or diminished nocturnal erections. And from the cognitive point of view, there is hot flushes, change in mood, sleep disturbances, depression, also diminished cognitive function. So how we are going to see those patients, how we are going to see, these are the certain questionnaires which is available. One is the important is ADAM questionnaire. The ADAM is androgen deficiency in aging male. This is one ADAM questionnaire which is most commonly used. Of course, there are certain other questionnaire like AMS questionnaire. AMS is aging male symptom scale, and there is another MMAS scale, that is Massachusetts male aging study scale, and there are certain questionnaires there, but most commonly used questionnaire is the ADAM questionnaire. How these are the certain things with ADAM questionnaire? Do you have a decrease in libido? Do you have a lack of energy? Do you have a decrease in strength and endurance? Have you lost your height? Have you noticed a decrease in enjoyment of life? Are you sad or grumpy? Are you having your erection is not strong enough? Have you noticed a recent deterioration in your ability to play sports? Are you feeling asleep after dinner? Has there been a recent deterioration in your work performance? These are the questions. From these questions, the low testosterone may be suspected if question 1 and 7. Question 1 is, do you have a decrease in libido? And 7 is, your erections is not strong enough. So these are the two questions which is directly related to low testosterone level. And after that, any of the three positive questions is also suspecting, or you should suspect the patient might have actually testosterone deficiency or early andropause. So in that case, you should evaluate those patients. So these are the things should be kept in mind. Again, coming to the what are the clinical evidences, this is the type 2 diabetes and testosterone and meta-analysis, where actually lot of ample of studies which has clearly shown that you will see the left side that testosterone lower in diabetes. Almost each and every study has clearly in this meta-analysis has clearly shown that with diabetes the testosterone is found to be low and they have a early andropause. And this is the right one is the high testosterone. You see the not a single study has actually come with the right side that shows almost each and every study has actually putting low testosterone is one of the important factor. Again, if you see the free testosterone level, again that is again found to be significantly low, and it is favoring that in type 2 diabetic patients the free testosterone is found to be significantly low. And again here they have tried to compare the body mass index and the age, and both age and BMI is found to be inversely proportional to the testosterone level. When age and BMI is increasing, the testosterone is actually significantly reduced, and this is the data what has clearly shown that. Again, they try to SHBG level. SHBG actually again it is here some of the studies have shown SHBG is high and some of the studies have shown SHBG is low, but ultimately the circulating free testosterone is found to be significantly less in particularly diabetic patients. And here there is actually androgen deprivation therapy in diabetes. There is actually they have tried to see what is the hazard ratio of developing in diabetes for the particularly early andropause. With sheer Medicare, it is 1.44. Ontario registry taking close to 40,000 patients, it is 1.24. And veteran administered study again taking 30,000 patients, it is 1.28. So that means all studies are clearly telling that probably those who are having diabetes, they have early andropause and they need some sort of androgen therapies, particularly in those group of patients. This is a study where actually androgen deprivation therapy with diabetes, what are the things they got? They got that the people see the weight is among those diabetic patients, it is increasing. If you see the muscle mass, it is significantly reduced, and if you see the fat mass, it is significantly increased. Again, that shows probably the increase in weight, increase in the fat mass with reduction in the muscle mass, probably three important characteristics which is classically found in particularly diabetic patients with early andropause or with particularly testosterone deficiency. Again, the insulin sensitivity is found to be significantly less or reduces with use particularly this androgen deficiency. This is another study where actually they have actually clustered into the 5 groups. The group 1 is particularly specifically only diabetic patients. Group 2 is diabetic with obesity. Group 3 is diabetes with obesity with hypertension. Group 3 is diabetes, obesity, hypertension and hypertriglyceridemia. And group 5 is diabetes, obesity, hypertension, hypertriglyceridemia plus low HDL. And what they found, you see, you have already seen that those who are actually with addition of each and every additional risk factors, probably there is actually the total testosterone is coming down. So if someone is a diabetes, they have low testo. If diabetes plus obesity, further low testo. Diabetes, obesity, hypertension, again it is further low testo. Diabetes, obesity, hypertension, hypertriglyceridemia, again low. And on top of that, if the HDL is low, again it causes further low of the decrease in the testosterone level. So what I want to focus here, that each and every part of metabolic syndrome probably plays a critical role in testosterone level or particularly total testosterone level. And here actually they have again separated those who are having metabolic syndrome but non-metabolic syndrome, and now in the non-metabolic syndrome group, total testosterone found to be higher in comparison to the metabolic syndrome group. Again, they try to see the HOMA-IR point of view. Again, those who are having higher insulin resistance, they have having low testo in comparison to low insulin resistance. And here the LH, they have again LHFSS, they try to see again same thing actually for the testosterone point of view, they have reflected that. And BMI point of view, those who are again higher BMI, their testosterone is found to be low in comparison to those who are having lower BMI. So coming so with this, all those things what ADA guideline is telling, ADA 2019 standard care of diabetes shows any male patients who have symptoms or signs of hypogonadism, then like decreased libido or activity or erectile dysfunction, they should consider screening with early morning serum testosterone level. But one should very much cautious, you should have accurate and reliable testosterone assay. The free or bioavailable testosterone level should also be measured in male with diabetes who have total testosterone level is actually in the lower limit of normal. Because if someone is in the lower limit of normal, in that case, it is always difficult for us to take a decision whether I should start treatment or I should not start treatment. In that case, one should go for a free testosterone index or free testosterone level. But again, here I want to focus that if you are planning for free testosterone, you should know that who are the specific lab who are doing free testosterone properly, because it is one of the most difficult assay to be done. So one should have a clear-cut knowledge, or you can calculate free testosterone index from the direct total testosterone. That will be easy and that will give a clear-cut idea who are the people who need specifically the therapies. So looking at this, how we are going to evaluate those patients. So if the presence of more than one components of metabolic syndrome, if someone has having clinical signs and symptoms of testosterone deficiency, or if someone is having erectile dysfunction, then do a testosterone level. Testo less than 250, then of course we need the battery of tests, like you have to go for gonadotropin, LHFSS and free testo. Again, additional test, thyroid test, adrenal axis, prolactin, all additional pituitary hormone should be done. Then again you have to take a call from that. If testosterone is between 250 to 350, as already I have discussed, this is the borderline range. In that case, one should go for either free testosterone level or free testosterone index. Then take a call whether if you are need to give therapy or not. If someone is having more than 350, you go for free testosterone level. If free testosterone again is low, then again in this case. And here at the end of the story, I want to focus one thing. If someone is having even if borderline low testosterone or low normal testosterone, but classical symptoms of hypogonadism, at least you should give a trial of testosterone therapy in those group of patients. With trial testosterone, if patient is getting benefit, probably you should continue that. And if someone is not getting benefit, within 3 to 6 months, you can stop that. And just another 1 minute. So coming to the last part, what are the benefits? We have ample of studies which has clearly shown that with testosterone therapies, there is glycemic benefits. Again, there is also improvement in the cardiovascular risk. What benefits we are getting? That is decreasing the fasting blood glucose, HbA1c is reduced, insulin sensitivity is improved, triglyceride is reduced, total cholesterol is reduced, HDL is improved, LDL cholesterol and VLDL is reduced. Again, lean body mass increases, fat mass little bit increases, visceral obesity is reduced, and muscle mass significantly improves. So all those things for a diabetic patient is definitely better, and that ameliorates the glycemic control, improves the glycemic control, improves insulin sensitivity, and also causes significant loss in the weight gain. And this is a study actually they have taken from 1 year to 5 years. They try to say what is happening to different levels. The first one is specifically for the to see what is happening to the total cholesterol. You say at baseline versus at the 5 years, the total cholesterol is significantly improves. The second one is the LDL cholesterol. This is the baseline 1 year versus 5 to 6 years, 5 years or 6 years. LDL cholesterol significantly improves. The third one is reduction in the triglyceride. Again, triglyceride significantly improves. The fourth one is the LDL cholesterol. HDL is significantly increased with particularly using the testosterone therapies. So again, this is the reduction in the HbA1c. You see, with only testosterone therapy used from the baseline, there is a significant improvement in the HbA1c in both the trials. That shows that there is a significant improvement in the lipid profile. There is a significant improvement in the HbA1c with even if these therapies. Again, the last slide, that if you are giving testosterone therapy, one should keep in the elderly patients certain things in the mind, that there is a potential risk of erythrocytosis, hyperviscosity. There is sometimes it might worsen sleep apnea. There is sometimes worsening of edema. Patient might develop gynecomastia. And also those who are having prostate disorders, one should keep in mind that prostate disorders might worsen after these testosterone therapies. It suppresses the sperm count also. Of course, those who are having deficiency, it improves cardiovascular risk or it gives some sort of benefit. But those who are having normal testosterone, giving additional testosterone has actually a detrimental effect on the cardiovascular point of view. Thank you.